bring in Tony Dungy from Football Night in America. Let me start there, Tone. What do you take away from that Bronco loss?
Well, the thing I take away, you can look at all the factors, but and I've heard people argue this. I think Denver played it right down the stretch when they got the ball back. They made a first down running the ball. Then they, were coming close to the 2-minute warning. They made Baltimore use all their timeouts, and they had a decision. They can throw the ball and maybe win it, but maybe cost themselves 45 seconds, or say, you know what, we run it and we punt it down there. We know we're going to punt the ball inside the 20, make them go 80 yards with 1 minute and no timeouts. Your defense has to win it there. They went 30 seconds and went 7 yards and then throw a 70-yard bomb. The game should have been won, and it's just a bad defense on the last play. To me, that was the explanation there. Now, the throw in overtime, you have to chalk that up to Peyton Manning. You can't make that throw. You can't cost your team a win. But the game should have never gotten to overtime.
I'm looking at the record in the postseason. I use the analogy, Peyton Manning is like Greg Maddux. Unbelievable, Hall of Famers, but not good in the postseason. And, I don't know. It's not a coincidence, Tony, that you have a losing record.
Is what it is, but you can take this loss and say, okay, you're going to 35 points and you're going to put your defense in position that all they have to do is stop one drive with no timeouts, and you got the number, whatever they were, number 3, number 4 defense in the league, and say, well, okay, you didn't win the game. It happens, I don't know about the other. I do know about some of the other games because I was involved in them, but that game, Denver's defense has to win that game right there.
John Fox, Jack Del Rio, the defensive coordinator. How do you it's inexcusable. Somebody would lose.
We look at this every week, Dan, on Sunday night football, and we get to these situations, and you can't figure it out. Baltimore only has one opportunity. They've got to throw the ball out of bounds or deep up the field. You let all 5 receivers come off unjammed. You don't try to funnel anybody inside. Your safeties are lined up like it's a normal play instead of saying, if they make 40 yards, it doesn't even hurt us. If they make 60 yards, we're still okay. The only thing that can hurt us is a ball out of bounds or a touchdown. Those are easy plays to defend, and it just was baffling to me that Jacoby Jones could go untouched, not even touched in that situation.
Hey, you got the Ravens, and now they go to New England. New England just seems like it's Brady and Belichick saying, I don't know, what do you want to try this series? They just seem to say, we can try it. Let's just empty out the playbook. All of a sudden, Vereen out of backfield looks like Roger Craig. It's pretty amazing that you don't have Gronkowski. Woodhead wasn't in there. And it doesn't matter. And look, I think the Texans are flawed. The defense was banged up. Schaub proved that he's not a big-time, I can win this game quarterback. But as far as the Patriots now at home against the Ravens, give me the game plan here.
Well, what makes them great is that they do have different ways to attack. And they will look at a defense and say, this is the way to attack them. And they were going to do it with Danny Woodhead. He got hurt, and they put Vereen in and did the same things. And, they attacked with Welker. They had a good matchup there. Next week against the Ravens, it could be someone else. It could be someone totally different. And that's what makes them unique. They're able to adjust. And they used to do it so well on defense when Rodney and those guys were there, Brewski and Vrabel, and they had all those veteran guys. They could come out with a completely different game plan on defense. That's what makes them so good. And you have to go in there and you have to play smart, and you have to be able to attack their weaknesses. But not everybody can do that. Not everybody has that type of team. This will be a good game. Baltimore is playing on emotion. They're playing on energy. And Baltimore has some guys who can stretch the field and make some plays. That'll be interesting. New England played man-to-man. They basically didn't feel like they could get hurt with any big plays. And we'll see if they can handle Torrey Smith and and Jacoby Jones, some of those speed guys the same way. It'll be a better game than people think.
Talking to Tony Dungy from Football Night in America, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. The Niners and the Packers and Colin Kaepernick. Don Capers has a great resume. But I got the feeling he couldn't decide what he wanted to try to take away from the 49ers because I don't think he took away anything here, Tone.
Well, Well, that's a tough offense to defend, especially if you only have 1 week to prepare for it. That's what people got on me for saying I thought that Minnesota had a chance to beat Green Bay. I thought that's what Minnesota would do, get into that spread offense, let Joe Webb make some plays and run. And if you haven't had to deal with that, it's not easy. But Kaepernick he adds a different amount of weaponry. Now, in the Super Bowl, when you've got 2 weeks to prepare for it, if they get there, it'll be a little bit easier challenge. But trying to stop everything and all the different things that come off it in 1 week is tough. And Kaepernick threw the ball well.
Yeah.
Now, that's the other part of it, too. If you're just trying to stop all the running plays and stop the quarterback running, but what I didn't understand was all the blitzing and the man-to-man coverage because, again, just playing Michael Vick, Kaepernick, Robert Griffin, all these guys, if you do that and you leave a crease, these guys can go 60, 70 yards, and that's, you have to box him in, you have to make him throw the ball, and it's easier said than done, but it'll be very, very interesting what Atlanta comes up with here with just a couple of days to prepare.
Falcons and the Seahawks, you and I have talked about this a couple of times, that now it's got to the point where how about I don't call a timeout and freeze the kicker? Now I'm in his head because he thinks I'm going to freeze him. I just don't do it. Pete Carroll did it, but he did say after the game, look, I told the official, I'm going to call a timeout, but I don't want him to get a practice attempt. And
right.
he did.
You have to call it quicker. You can't wait. You have to call it before they get lined up. That's I just never understood that whole thing. Call it, yeah. If you want to make him stand out there 45 seconds longer, you have to call it when they're starting to break the huddle. But if you wait till the last minute, yes, they're going to snap the ball, and yes, they're going to say in that situation nobody could hear the timeout. That's the way it goes. I think coaches have gone way overboard with this. I'm going to wait and 4 more seconds to freeze them.
I know that you talked about this, that unofficially you were contacted about some coaching vacancies. You said this last week, but nothing official. As far as Chip Kelly and Brian Kelly, no relation other than college coaches who flirted with the NFL. Bigger surprise, Chip went back to Oregon or Brian went back to Notre Dame?
Well, in a way, I thought Chip was going to go, but I think all of these guys, when they look at it and examine, when you're at these top 10 programs and you really sit back and think about what you have, and then you look at the places that are coming after you and what they have there and what the differences are, I think a lot of these college coaches are going to say, hey, I better think twice about this before I leave, because you've got great setups. You've got tremendous fan bases. You've got security. And now in all these cases, the money is really no different.
Yep.
The college jobs are paying just as much as the NFL jobs. So you have to look at how you're going to function with a draft, how you're going to function with a salary cap, how you're going to function with impatient owners. Now, you might get fired at Oregon or Notre Dame if you don't go to the playoffs or if you don't win at all, but you will get fired in the NFL if you don't. So I think guys are just saying, you know what, my job is not all that bad.
Who's going to the Super Bowl? Let me get your predictions.
Boy, it's a tough one. If you went off of this week, you'd have to say San Francisco. They played lights out. Russell Wilson did a very, very good job, put up almost 500 yards on Atlanta. But for some reason, I just think this is Atlanta's year. I think they're going to come through. So I'm going to pick Atlanta and New England.
Good to visit with you. I'll talk to you soon, Tone.
All right, DP.
Thank you, buddy. Tony Dungy, Football Night in America.